This is yours truly, the speed sensation of professional wrestling, Dustin Flash Waller, and you're watching Stirring the Pot with Don Kincaid.
This is Stirring the Pot with Don Kincaid, and look who the hell came storming in. My man, Dustin Waller. I was almost going to call you Flash, but you go by Dustin Waller, so I'm going to introduce you as Dustin Waller. Thank you, my man, for coming in, sitting with us during this whole COVID thing going around. The whole COVID thing going on. I know you're hunkered down. First off, I want to ask you, how are you doing through this whole quarantine thing, my friend?
Doing good. Everyone's just staying home, and I'm doing the same. Hopefully everyone else is doing the same as well. Staying home, being safe.
Well, you know, my job, it's considered as an essential business, so I'm bobbing and weaving the COVID out there. So I'm doing the best I can. I'm washing my ass. I'm washing my hands regularly, you know. So, yeah, we got to do that. I'm glad to see you smile. We need to be in good spirits through these crazy times right now, my friend. So it's good to see you smile.
Yeah, definitely.
Mr. Waller and myself, we connected way back when Stirring the Pot kind of started. But it wasn't quite what I wanted because I had no microphones. And I'm low budget now, but you should have seen it before. Man, it was the shit. Not that it isn't, because you could probably get like Alex Rojas and many of them to tell Kincaid's is the shit, but that's near here or there. So what I've done now is I've caught up with Mr. Flash Waller again, and it's been a little bit of time, and I'm going to say, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 months-ish, maybe, probably even longer. Is that correct, sir?
Yeah, probably around that. Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, you were popping in center ring like a tornado. You were in and out of that place crazy for a little bit there, getting the face seen, because you're your own brand. Nobody pushes Dustin Waller but Dustin Waller, baby.
Yeah, of course.
So I've been very curious, and I'm sure many other fans, because you started off, your name was Flash Waller, and you have, the Flash thing. You've got the pants, and you've got the look and all of that speed stuff. But out of nowhere, you change your name to Dustin Waller. Could you please tell me and the fans what the hell is going on with Mr. Dustin Waller, please?
Well, I still keep the Flash. I kind of, whenever people ask me this question, I portray it to how, like, Flip Gordon had his name. It was Travis Flip Gordon. Mm-hmm. So I'm sticking with Dustin Waller, and I have Dustin Flash Waller, so I have that quotation inside. So if anything happens to come around and change, then we'll change it back. But I'm just sticking with Dustin Waller now, and the Flash it's always going to be there. Flash isn't going anywhere, but that's always going to stay with me. For sure.
The original Flash, your original name, does that come from the Flash itself?
Somewhat transpired from it, but it more transpires for the fact that it's like speed and like the agility and the fast, just trying to inquire like the speed interpretation into it.
Well, I must say, once you get in between those ropes, you're quite peppy. You're flying all over the place. You're doing some crazy death-defying stuff in there. You're a very young man, and you're doing some crazy stuff in there. I tell my dad, he's like the daredevil of the local scene right now, to be honest with you. How's the body holding up through your style of wrestling right now? How you doing?
Well, since I've been wrestling for 3 years in November it'd be. So I'm still new in the sense of like getting to know the style. So when I first started, I used to love throwing in the blockbuster. Used to throw that move up all the time. Used to be one of my favorite moves to do. And now I kind of stepped away from it because after a while doing that every single show, it does take a toll. And me being 18, I'm like, I want to try and last this a while. I want to try and be doing this for as long as I possibly can. So once in a while, I'll throw it in, do cool, but I'm not going to. But I do moves that, I think are inspiring to me, cool to me, and of course that the fans would enjoy as well. So yeah, I'm slowly just coping with all the new stuff that's going on right now.
Yeah, and speaking of new stuff, you've come out with some new gear, man. It's bright, it's flashy. That's what the Flash is supposed to be, baby.
Yeah, definitely. That gear it's definitely awesome to see. I got it done by Main Event Gear, so they put together an absolutely amazing set for me. It's definitely like more than I could have ever asked for. It definitely came out awesome.
That's awesome. I am not interrupting at all. I'm getting notifications, and I gotta stop that crap. What's going on? See, I'm not used to the Skype thing yet, These high flying maneuvers. You said inspiration for said maneuvers. I don't ask this question because it's one of the regular wrestling questions, but with your move set specifically, I've got to ask you, where does this inspiration in the ring, in between those ropes, where does it come from with Flash Waller?
Well, unlike most people, I don't know if I said that, but I started watching wrestling pretty later on in my life. I started watching when I was like 10 or 11. So not like as like most people start when they're much younger. I started very recently. And the person that I first started watching in the independent scene was, well, first Lucha Underground was Prince Puma, who may come out to be known now as Ricochet. And seeing him live sometime, I saw him live a few times at NEW, and just seeing his stuff was absolutely amazing because the fact of seeing someone that's my size and always being told, you're too small to do this, you're not going to make it because of your height, your weight, and then seeing guys like this that are smaller than me that are doing this and kicking ass in the business is just, that's the inspiration to me. Definitely.
That's awesome, man. That's really cool. I mean, it's hard to make those flashy moves look good, and I have to say, for a young man and not in the biz that long, you're doing pretty well for yourself. I would like to see you in some more similar, like you and the Nutrius and you and the Sebastian Cages. That, my friend, good one. And I'm not taking away from anybody else, but out of the matches that I've seen you in right now, you seem to be a little, just a little more comfortable in that one, meaning you were doing some stuff that we don't normally see Flash Waller do. Is that something you brought to the table, or Sebastian, or the both of you? How did that come about?
Yeah, me and Sebastian, that was one of the most amazing matches I've ever had. Like, it was because I've never wrestled someone my size, if not even smaller than me. Like, that was just unreal. Like, there's just so many different words. There's so, like, I just can't even put it into words. It was just really interesting because when I first got into wrestling, it was like I was like 15 or around there, like into like independent wrestling. I was like 13 or 14, and I started doing the, as you may know, PWA, which I trained there for a few months about. But then when I went to their little Friday Night Alley fights, I always saw Sebastian Cage. Always saw him wrestling, him and Hippie Dicky Moon and Moonshine, all these guys that I am now friends with in the business are guys that were teaching me how to bump and stuff like this when I was younger. And I'm just like, it was really cool to find out I was wrestling him because I was like, why me? Like, that's always my thought. I was like, why would you pick me? But it was just absolutely amazing to wrestle Cage.
So I didn't realize you were at the PWA were you at the tail end of their tenure in Cheshire?
I was at the very tail end of their tenure. Actually, I'll throw a little story time. If you want me to throw a little something out real quick. When I first
go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, when I first started training at PWA, it was my first time ever experiencing wrestling, and it was Dickie Moon and Moonshine that were in there getting the guys together and helping them out. And another fun fact about me, I'm also a skier, so I do ski jumping.
Nice.
So it was during the time that I was training with PWA that I went on this skiing trip with the family. And long story short, I was doing a ski jump and I undershot it, landed on a bunch of ice, and I shattered my collarbone.
Oh,
And at like 13 years old, needed to go into surgery for a broken collarbone. And just starting to like do this whole wrestling thing, and then being like, that's the only thing that's on my mind. Because I'm just like, this is awful. I'm like, the surgery was like 6 to 8 months. I was just in there forever, with the sling and, having to go through the surgery and everything. And then coming back to find out that they ended up shutting down. I was just like, this, like everything was just going downhill. And I was just like, what's going on? And then I eventually found out PAPW in late 2017, I think it was. And ever since then, it's just been just a crazy ride, this whole thing. So then coming all first full circle to the Alley Fights 2-year anniversary with Sebastian Cage, everything was that just topped it off, to be honest with you.
Those were the words I was exactly going to use, full circle, because I didn't realize you were part of PWA back then. I was going for their last year or year and a half or so. And you bring up PWA, that's where you started. I don't know if I don't know how many people actually watch this Kincaid stuff, because I'm just a dude with a phone. So I don't know how many eyes actually see this, but I don't know if you've seen, I did an interview with one Kara Scarfo outside the old PWA.
Mm-hmm.
And they're returning, baby.
Yes, they are.
I am so excited for that. That is amazing to me. But my point being is, I don't really remember Mr. Dustin Waller at PWA. Were you part of the scene? Were you part of the fan base? Where were you in that whole thing?
I didn't know anything. I was like, my first ever experience training was there. So all I was doing was just because of the age, I was in their youth program. So I was just there to watch the shows and just go over little stuff. So I was never wrestling. I started wrestling with PAPW.
Got you. So PWA closes. You've gone through surgery. Then you find that PWA closes. Your mindset goes from probably one extreme to another. So now you look for some place. Are you out of the Connecticut area?
Yes, I am. I am out of the Connecticut area. Yes.
Okay.
Definitely. So the PWA was pretty close to me.
Oh, okay. So now you're in search for a school in Connecticut, and PAPW, Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling. It's owned by Paul Roma, Mario Mancini, Paul Perez, Steve Tracy. They all have a little something to provide in PAPW. Is that the first school that you found, or was it a couple? How did that transition go?
It's so hard to find wrestling schools nowadays. It's like, it really is. Like, if you just type in pro wrestling schools, nothing pops up. Like you just have to dig and search forever. So when I finally found PAPW, I was like, wow, this is really cool. So I gave him a call, swung by, and PAPW is more like, if you can ask anyone that goes there, it's more just like a family, like 100%. I guarantee, like every wrestling school should be. That's how every wrestling school should be, because that's what this business.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what this business is about. And I'm sorry that I cut you off, because I'm still trying to get the Skype thing down. I'm just, I'm Kincaid. I don't know what the fuck's going on. So right now I would be correct in saying PAPW is your home base, correct?
Oh, yes. 100%.
Now, has Flash Waller branched out from home? Has he gone to other promotions? What has Flash put on his resume, if you will?
Okay, so the resume is not as large, but in the Connecticut area, I have, as you experienced, my first out of PAPW experience was Blood, Sweat, and Tears, which I think you were there for that show, which that was definitely a hell of a show.
That has left a bad taste in your mouth, and you're still, and I am so glad you brought that up, and I hate to interrupt you. We're going to come back to that. I hate to interrupt, but this is supposed to be seen by one just, I got to gain my thoughts. I have too many names in my brain. The Cure, Lucas Chase is going to be watching, and you brought up Blood, Sweat, and Tears. And that show has left a bad taste in your mouth, because Blood, Sweat, and Tears returned. But you and Lucas Chase have unfinished business. So
yes,
I'm sure the Cure is watching. He said he was gonna. He's part of this whole ridiculous debate club thing. Whatever. If you have a message to send Mr. The Cure, just Flash. I am so lost right now. The Cure. The Cure, Lucas Chase. If you had a message for that guy, what would you throw at him right now?
I haven't forgot what he did. I haven't forgotten. Blood, Sweat, and Tears has not left my mind ever since. Salvation Saturday night may not have happened, but if it comes back around, I am first in line 100%. He knows that because you were at the show at the Cadillac Ranch for BCWE, I think it was, and
yeah.
We had that little. He saw me. I was just there to scope him out, watch the crowd. He saw me, and he knows. He knows. He has enough respect to know who's first in line, and he knows I am. So I do have that kind of respect for him.
All right. Well, he is going to absolutely annihilate me for messing his name up, not once, not twice, but 3 times in a row. He is going to absolutely kill me. All right. So you've branched out to Blood, Sweat, and Tears. What was after that?
I did one show at Test of Strength, and then I've been doing XWA up in Rhode Island.
XWA. We love XWA. And it's funny you say that because tonight I have spoken to Bobby Rossi.
Mm-hmm.
I've spoken to Maxim Morozov. And those 2 guys, they're definitely not on the same way.
How did that conversation with Maxim go? I can just imagine how that went.
Wait till you see this shit. You're gonna flip your shit. I'm telling you. Getting back to the XWA. XWA is like it used to be my home away from home for a while. But it became too much of a drive for me with everything else that I ended up having to do. And I haven't been there in a long time. And I kicked myself in the ass because I didn't get to see Flash Waller debut there or continue his career over there. How's the XWA nowadays? The set looks amazing up there nowadays.
Oh, yeah. It's amazing. You're seeing a bunch of guys from here. Like, I don't know if you've been keeping up, but you got the Firm that's going up there. TJ Howell the third's up there now. You got all the CT guys are up in XWA now.
I was trying not to mention the Firm. Thanks a lot, Mr. Waller.
Yeah, I know. Trust me, I try to do that as least as possible as well.
But hey, you got to give them credit where credit is due. When the Firm walks in, everybody hates them, and that's their job. And boy, do they do their job well.
Oh, yeah. They do their job very well. But, yeah, you've got a bunch of CT guys going up there. You got myself. Zach Gibbs is up there. Like we're all going up there, and it's definitely a really cool experience. It's nice because you get in a different environment, like having different matches, you know. I've had a few title matches. Like, it's fun up there. It's really fun. Like, it's good experience. Like, I've wrestled their champion, Trigger the OG, he's a competitor. Definitely a great guy to wrestle.
Dustin Waller went 1-on-1 with Trigger OG for the strap?
Oh, yeah. It was definitely awesome. Definitely a lot of fun. Like, XWA is just really fun. So if anyone gets a chance to go up there, I definitely recommend it. Whenever all this is done, like whenever wrestling comes back to the world, which I hope it does soon because this is just killing all wrestlers. I can guarantee you that.
I thought I was keeping an eye on the XWA. How the hell did I miss that? I don't. I'm blown away over here. I don't know, man. So you didn't become the XWA champion, so obviously you kind of. I mean, Trig is he's nobody to mess with, man.
Oh no, he's not. I found that out real quick, but he's definitely a guy to wrestle.
Yeah, I mean, you know what's cool up there is they have their own little ambiance going on. And they've even improved it a little bit more over the course of time with the whole front end and everything and the back behind the curtain with their gorilla area and the whole setup. And it's pretty cool over there. So, yeah, it's got to be fun for Dustin up there.
Yeah, it's definitely a pretty surreal thing because it's nothing I've ever experienced. Like, you know, it's definitely really cool. They got the whole backstage area. They got the monitors. It's very professional back there. And it's very, very interesting. Very fun.
Yeah, That's cool, man. I'm glad to hear that. That's a great place to be wrestling at, man. Not that I'm
Oh,
taking away from anybody else, but I just love
oh yeah,
XWA, you know?
it's a lot of fun. Definitely a lot of fun.
So when you go up there, you're doing the Thursday night throwdowns, is that correct?
Yes, that is.
Now,
Mm-hmm.
that's a stepping stone to getting on those bigger cards that they have. And man, when they have those bigger cards, those things are effing bangers, man.
Oh yeah, they got some big names up there. I've been seeing for their like bigger shows. They got some people that go there. It's
Yeah,
definitely
man, they do. They bring in some unbelievable names. And you mentioned, and I want to get back. You mentioned Ricochet. You're saying that you've seen Ricochet at Northeast Wrestling, correct?
yes, I have.
Now, was he versing one Flip Gordon? May I ask?
No, it was him versus Cody Rhodes at the time.
Oh, I missed that one. I really thought we were at the same show at that point because I saw Flip Gordon verse. Not only did I see Flip Gordon versus Ricochet at NEW, but the night previous, the same match, the same two combatants, but different match. I got to rephrase it. It was a different match, same two combatants, which is very hard to pull off at XWA. It was amazing.
Wow, yeah, that definitely would be an unreal match to see.
So, besides the XWA, the Blood, Sweat, and Tears, the TOS, the PAPW, the PWA. Yeah. I mean, that's quite a freaking list you got going on. Is there anything else past the XWA here? What else has you got going on?
I'm looking to get out to as many places as I can, especially this year. I'm trying to just look out to get as many places as I possibly can. But the option, like there's a huge variety now, especially in the Northeast. There's plenty of companies out there. There's literally like so many. Like there's Beyond, Chaotic, NEW. Like I said, like there's all these places you can go out to, and I'm just keeping my eye out, trying to see what I can do, and just trying to make it, as we all are.
Yeah, and going to XWA from our area, that's not it's not a gigantic drive, but doing that on a regular basis, that's what they call doing the drives, man. So I appreciate as a fan you doing that because that just pushes you more and that gives you more confidence in that ring and it challenges you more. And when we see you back at home in PAPW and whatnot, it's like, man, look at Flash go, man. We really have a good time when you come out and do your thing. So for me, from the fans, I want to give you a big thank you from us because you really put your body on the line. You do the craziest shit around, and you give us a good time, man, for real.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Don.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, at the PAPW Friday Night Alley Fights, at their training facility in East Haven, when they have those smaller shows, I love the intimate stuff. I feel it's a little more interactive between all of us, the fans and the wrestlers and such. Do you like that intimate setting or do you like it when it's on a little bigger of a scale?
It depends. There's pros and cons for both, but I personally, I feel like out of PAPW, Alley Fights is my home 100%. I made my debut at Alley Fights. I've wrestled most of my matches at Alley Fights, and I feel like it's because the crowd for Alley Fights is totally different from our big show crowds. The Alley Fights crowds, they know who we are, they know who I am, they know who all the wrestlers are, and they're very in touch. There's never a dull moment in that crowd. Like they're always on fire. Like especially for me, myself, Haven, they're always on fire for everyone. Even for I think even for the firm, they absolutely obliterate them. It's just amazing.
The heat is so real with the crowd firm. It's unbelievable. You mentioned the Haven. The crowd is same thing. Flash comes out, the crowd goes, they lose their shit. The Haven comes out, it's the same exact thing, man. That, like you said, I like how I'm gonna steal that from you. The crowd at PAPW is definitely in tune with the stars of PAPW. That is for sure. I want to touch upon
out of every company I've been in, the Alley Fights crowd is the most in tune, personally, in my experience, because they're just unreal. Like that, even though there's only sometimes 60, 75 people in that building, it sounds like there's hundreds of them. It erupts. It's unreal. It really is.
It is, and we always have a good time because you always give us a good time, and it's so cool about wrestling. The fans go to escape, the wrestlers they go to wrestle to escape. We all escape together, and we feed off of each other, and that's the fun just comes naturally when it works like that, you know.
Definitely, for sure.
I want to touch on one fan specifically at PAPW at the Friday Night Alley fights. His name is Gavin. He's a little guy. He's got himself a leather flash hat. He wears every single show, no matter if it's a Friday Night Alley fight or a big show. He's at every single show, that little guy. Scares the shit out of me. He's my nemesis, by the way. I don't know if you guys are tight, but if you are, could you please talk him down? He's crazy, okay? That little dude just loves when you come out, his eyes light up and he loves seeing Flash comes out. When I see that as a fan looking at a younger fan, dude, that just gives me goosebumps. The hair stands on my arms. I start smiling. I feel like that's MFing wrestling. That's the origin right there. That's what it's all about, man. Guys coming through that curtain and the kids lighting up like a Christmas tree. Do you see that? When you come out the curtain, do you see that from the crowd? Do you hear the crowd? Are you in tune with the crowd? Because not all wrestlers are.
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. Yeah, when I first started wrestling, I use this phrase, and I use it for all like some of the newer guys that come into PAPW. I say, for when I first started, those ropes were brick walls. It was just me and my opponent. I did not pay attention to anyone. It was just, that's how it was. But now when I walk out, I hear people. I acknowledge it. Like you got guys like Signed Guy and Signed Kid. I see you with them. They're there. Like you're saying, Gavin. Like all these people are out there, and I'm just like, now I'm starting to realize, and I'm like, okay, this is because I take those flashbacks to when I was a little kid at the Monday Night Raws, at the SmackDowns, at these little NEWs, watching my favorite stars, and just hoping that they would look at me and give me a high five. And then I'm kind of like looking. I'm like, you know what? Let me just like in tune it, forget what's going on, and just focus on how I was when I was younger. You always got to bring it back to yourself, because if you think about it, no one's higher than anyone. We're still all people. I'm the same as everyone else in the crowd. I'm just in the ring.
That's awesome, man, because those younger fans and the older fans alike, but the younger fans in PAPW, they're bringing signs, and it's not just one person. It's multiple of those kids. The flash signs come out, and there's two girls there that absolutely hate the firm. There's lava heat, and I know who you know who I'm talking about. Those two girls, they love Flash. They scream at the top of their lungs. I have to like hold my ears because they're screaming so loud for you, bro. I mean, that's just amazing stuff right there. And that's why I love wrestling. I mean, it's a whole thing with the people and the wrestlers. We all make that package together. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's like especially all the things that's going on in wrestling right now is a perfect. If you watch Raw, if you watch SmackDown, if you're watching AEW Dynamite, it's a perfect example that the crowds make wrestling. It's 100%. The crowd is what makes professional wrestling. Like, because when you walk out there, you go out there to impress the crowd or to make them hate you, whichever one you do your best at. And if there's no one there, then you're not even doing your job. There's nothing to do.
I feel you. And like I said, without you doing your job, we don't feed off of that. So you're doing a fantastic job out there, my friend. I got to give you some props because you're doing your thing. You're getting the crowd behind you. You're building this story of a young man up and coming. You're doing your thing, and the crowd is absolutely loving you right now, man.
Yeah, thank you very much. That means a lot. Like I always go around, like I'm just going with it. I'm just going with the flow. That's literally just what I'm doing. I'm not looking forward to anything. I'm just doing whatever happens. Like that's just how it is, and it's just been one hell of a ride, definitely.
That's cool. You've mentioned the Haven. Now, the Haven are pretty fresh in PAPW. The crowd goes, again, they go absolutely bonkers for these guys. A couple young, upcoming guys, and they were already tag team champions.
Yes.
I, do you feel when you're a young upcoming star and you get that taste of gold very, very early in your career, does that, in your eyes, because I don't know what the Haven thinks, do you, in your eyes, do you think that hampers a young man coming up, or does that help you shoot for higher stars? Where do you think early gold does to a young wrestler?
It really just depends on like how humble you are, because that's all this business is about, is being humble. Like there's no wrestler that's better than the other. We're all just people going in there doing our thing. And if you get the gold, and that's great, which they did, and it was definitely a very emotional night for everyone there, because we knew them. I watched them when they first came and started training, and it was awesome to see them do that, and it was just definitely a surreal moment. And I bet someday if I get that, they'll be showing the same love to me. And it's just, but back to the question, I do feel like it really just depends on how humble you are. Like you take all these young celebrities, like the Justin Biebers, when they first get the fame, sometimes it gets to their head and then they go crazy, but now it slowly smooths them out. You really never know. It depends. Nothing really crazy happened with them. They didn't get too cocky. Nothing happened. They defended the titles, and
Yeah,
you win some, you lose some, and that's what happens.
They were fighting champions. They brought that gold, and they were putting it up, and they weren't afraid to do it. And man, hit the I call her Mama Haven. Wow, she's a loony bin. She goes crazy for those boys. Holy cow!
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're definitely a fan favorite. Definitely.
I want to get back real quick to Gavin. I've been messing with the young man. I call him all sorts of names, but his real name, and him and his grandmother are absolutely having a blast with it. I call him, Calvin or Devlin, or, I make up all of these stupid names for this kid. And I like having fun with the young crowd. You know what I'm saying? I mean, as a fan, my dad looks at me, he goes, "You're going to get us arrested one of these days." But I mean, I'm just having fun with the fans that are there, and we're all there to have fun, and it just kind of happens really naturally.
Yeah, it really does. Like the way that this is just transformed for me, especially, is just unreal. Like, I never expected to be anything close to this. It's just a lot of fun.
So you're, as a wrestler, as a kid, because when we're all kids and we start watching wrestling, we get invested in the wrestling, and now you want to become a wrestler. You always shoot, for these gigantic stars, crowds of tens of thousands of people cheering you, and the lights and the grandeur that comes with it, and the whole 9 yards. The wrestling scene's a little bit different nowadays. It's very rampant. It's very flourishing, which is great for the fans. It's great for the workers. But the WWE always doesn't seem to be the pinnacle now, because there is more platforms that are viable enough to keep your career going.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Does Flex Waller see himself in the WWE, or does he see himself more in that natural indie scene as an end game, if you will?
I definitely see myself as an independent wrestler, especially with today's day and age. But of course, then again, you have being brought up and raised by Paul Roma, Mario Mancini, Perez, Big Steve, all these guys that were there at the top, that were performing in front of the tens of thousands of people. And you're just like, this is crazy. Like if you go on YouTube and you watch Roma's matches, he's wrestling at like WrestleManias, and you're just like, this is unreal. Like, of course, that's where everyone wants to be. But especially with my style, I feel like right now I'd definitely be in tune on sticking in the independent scene, because it's grown so much. Like back then, in that time, there was only that one company. There were a few independent companies, but independent wrestling is bigger than it's ever been in the wrestling world. Like as of right now, it's the biggest it's ever been. And one of the guys that I really look up to in this business, which I don't throw out that much, but I really look up to JT Dunn, because seeing what he's done, I've definitely seen him from when I first started watching independent wrestling, NEW, Beyond, Chaotic, XWA, all these companies that I eventually want to go into, and companies that I'm in right now currently. It's just definitely really cool. And he's wrestled for us once. He wrestled Richard Holiday, and that was an awesome match. So yeah, it's definitely like, I definitely think I'm an independent wrestler as of right now, and I'm just gonna Like I said, I'm just going with whatever happens, happens. But I'm not shooting for anything crazy right now. I'm just trying to, because I want to be able to wrestle where I want to wrestle, who I want to wrestle. I want to have those matches until, I'm ready for that.
And it's hard because once you get into the big company being WWE, you lose control of your sometimes whole personification, your name, your gimmick. Sometimes you lose that. So you want to be in control of your brand right now.
Yeah, definitely.
And you've named some amazing companies that are on our local scene, the NEWs, the Chaotix, the XWAs and such. Now, the names that you've given us, those companies have given us some amazing talent that's on TV right now, man. The Vikings, Dijak, Keith Lee. I mean, I could go on and on. Flip Gordon. And I mean, again, I could go on and on and on, not to leave anybody out. But those companies, the Beyond, Chaotic and such, they give you those stepping stones. And like you said, you would like to be an independent wrestler, but that gives you so much resume to whenever, if they wanted to pull the trigger or you wanted to pull the trigger on Mr. Waller, you've got the skills, you've got the mindset, you've got it all ready to go. So I could definitely see you out there at the Beyonds and the Chaotix and stuff. I would love to see that of Mr. Flash Waller, man.
Yeah, I'm definitely hoping for that. That would definitely be really interesting. Definitely be cool.
Dustin Waller, I am so sorry I called you Flash Waller. Oh my God.
You're all set. People call me that all
the So I've seen in PAPW, there's a lot of personality, I gotta say. There's you were in this match and there was a multi-man match, and if I'm not mistaken, it was for One Bloodsaw's United States Championship.
Yes.
That match was a little bit wackadoo because you guys were jumping not just like out of the ring. You were jumping over flying over the barriers and stuff. I mean, holy crap. The United States Championship in PAPW, is that something that Flash Waller has his sights set on?
Yeah, that's another really good question because everyone's always like, "Oh, what title do you want to go for?" I'm like, I'm just going like with whatever happens. But like the title that I've had the most opportunities for is the U.S. title, and I love Bloodsaw to death. He's an awesome guy, great wrestler, and I only had one singles match with him, and I definitely want to throw it down again, like 100%. Even if it's for the title, so be it. But definitely want to throw it down with Bloodsaw again. It's awesome to work with him.
So either way, title or non-title, you would just love to work with One Bloodsaw.
Well, if the title's on the line, great. But if not, still, it's definitely to work Bloodsaw would be definitely awesome.
He is. He's got some skill in the ring. That's for sure. The villains in PAPW, and I mentioned one Mr. Morozov earlier. The villains in PAPW, wrestling is over the top. It's larger than life. The storylines and the characters in PAPW, they give us, the fans, something invested to keep coming back at the shows. Do you feel that PAPW is in a good direction right now? You're satisfied in the companies where they're coming right now, because they got a fantastic storylines with many talent in there. You're happy being that your home base, correct?
Oh yeah, definitely, 100%. I wouldn't change it for the world. It's definitely been unreal. It's grown so much. Like so much has just been happening, and yeah, we definitely got a lot of stuff going on. It's unreal.
Could you tell us, the fans, maybe any little funny tidbits behind the scenes, maybe during training, or like Mr. Paul Roma's up your ass for something? Can you give the fans a little insight, a little something?
I feel like everyone seems like Roma's a strict guy. He's really not. Everyone's like, "Oh, is Roma always up your ass, doing all this stuff, making you do that?" I'm like, deep down, he does it because he loves us to death and he wants us to make it. Because he's like I've said, he's done it. He's been at the top. He's done And he was in his prime, and now he loves making the new guys be in their prime. Perfect example, Richard Holiday. Look at him; he's signed with MLW. Like it's unreal. Even Mark Adam Haggerty, the ring announcer, he's signed with MLW now too. He started with us, now went around all independent companies, and Roma just loves making the talent. He loves making them and just seeing them grow. That's just what he loves to do. He may show it in a rough way, but that's because he just cares deep down.
Well, that's a touching story, but that's not what I was looking for. I was looking to get some dirt, some little something behind the scenes, and you gave me butterflies and flowers and stuff.
The dirt. I don't know if we got it. There's nothing really.
No, I'm just playing with you, my man. I'm just playing with you. No, I hear that about Mr. Roma. He has a direction. He wants his talent to tell stories and to be safe and solid wrestlers. And the guys that have come out of that company, the students, have been amazing and great storytellers. It's been a great ride at PAPW, man.
Definitely is. It's definitely been crazy. Yeah, definitely.
So before I let one Flash Waller go, I don't know how long we've been talking. It seems like I think I've been talking all night. I've had a very busy evening. We are at a 40 minutes? Dude, it feels like 3 or 4 minutes, man. We've been like just chewing the fat, man. Do you find yourself, I find that some of the guys and girls, they don't even watch the wrestling that's on TV at all. But a lot of the guys and girls that have watched the WWE mainly because that was like the main wrestling coming up, some do, but a lot don't, I find. Watching the product, the WWE, the ROH, those mainstream, is that something that you follow, or are you just not interested?
I don't sit down every night and watch them live. Last night I tried watching SmackDown, but it was just, trying watching Raw, but it was weird. It's hard to like. To me, it was hard watching Raw without any kind of crowd. Because like me being a wrestler, knowing that if I had to walk out there with no crowd, I'd be like, this is weird. Like this is really definitely a weird experience. And I feel like AEW is definitely doing really good. Like I enjoy watching their product just because they're all the indie guys that I watched that are now on the big. You got Jungle Boy, Marco Stunts, you got Sammy Guevara's, Darby Allin's, all these guys. And I'm just like, this is pretty cool because you got the guys that I used to watch on the indies are now making it in their big leagues, which is AEW, and now they just got Matt Hardy, Brody Lee. Like they're picking up a bunch of big names, and it's a lot of fun.
The names behind the scenes at AEW is pretty amazing with the Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson, Dean Malenko. I mean, these guys have gone mad by picking up, these guys. So, yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of wrestling out there to choose from. That's very certain. I notice fans like to kick other fans around, like the Impact fans. They piss on the WWE fans and vice versa, and ROH, and it's this whole little weird thing with wrestling and the fans. But I mean, like we were talking fans earlier, nonetheless, they really make their voices known out there nowadays with the mainstream of internet, still very thriving,
They definitely do. Like, I feel like there's no like Impact fans, WWE, like we're all just wrestling fans. Like, there's no Impact wrestlers, and we're all just fans. We're all wrestlers. Like, it doesn't matter where you are, who you're supporting. You're still a fan. You're still a wrestler. We're all just the same. This is all one big family. That's all wrestling is: fans, wrestlers alone.
Exactly, dude. It should be like that. I kind of wish that mindset set across to all promotions and all workers, but unfortunately it doesn't, and you kind of run into the behind the scenes stuff, so I mean it is what it is, because every job there's that weird thing. Oh, excuse me. There's always that weird stuff going on, at work, in the work environments. So if you were to pick right now, would it be a Beyond or any specific promotion that you have your eyes set on, or is it just many to get all of your skills honed?
I feel like I'm just trying to get to as many as I possibly can to get my skills out there. But like, of course, the one that would be cool to wrestling would be NEW, of course, because I watched them. I went to their shows, and some of the guys that I train with, like Richard Holiday's, they're up there doing it themselves, and like I bring up Holiday a lot because he's done so much from what he's done. It's just unreal the stuff that he's done. Like it really is.
And the longest reigning PAPW champion, if I would have to be remiss to not say that. Man, that dude held on to that belt forever.
Oh yeah, and even being able to say that I got to wrestle him still, like it's definitely really cool.
The wrestling, it takes a package. It takes a support system. It takes your gimmick, your promos, your look, your wrestling skills. Are you comfortable with the promo situation? Because and I don't mean to put you on the spot because I can run my mouth forever, but I don't see a lot of content being promos from one Mr. Waller. Would we be seeing some more of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I put promos out whenever I have like if I have a set match that I know that I'm having. Like the most time I put out promos was when I was going back at it with Sammy Diaz. Because we were going at it, me and in the firm in general. Whenever like people come up to me, they're like, whenever I think of Valley fights, I think of Flash and the firm, because whether it's me and Elijah Six, me and Richie and Jay, like, or me and Sammy, we just go at it, and we did for the countless amount of times. And I just felt like I need to put out promos, especially now going back to Blood, Sweat, and Tears, Lucas Chase. I put out plenty of promos for that because that was just, and it's still there. It's still in the back of my head, and he knows. He respects that, and he knows. But whenever that comes back around, But I put promos out there whenever I have a definitive match, because one thing that is behind the scenes, sometimes you walk into an arena, you walk into your whatever show you're wrestling, and you don't know who you're wrestling until maybe 5 minutes before you do it, and they're like, okay, there you go, time to fight, and we're like, what? Like, okay, cool. You don't always know, like months before. You're like, you're always just doing your own thing, and they just call you out there. That's why it's called professional wrestling, because you have to be a professional. That's what this is.
Excellent point on that. Would you rather it be set up where you know who your opponent is, or do you get maybe a little more excited when it's like, okay, who am I wrestling tonight? Wait, what? And then it's like, okay, what we got to get this together and stuff. So what are you most comfortable with?
I definitely like when I first started wrestling. If you want more behind the scenes, so when I first started wrestling, I would like want to know who I'm wrestling and want to like, okay, well, what should I do? Like maybe like, because if I'm wrestling Bloodsaw, I should know that he's fast. I should know he's big. I should like plan out, study him, do all this stuff to go over it. And then I think it was the night that I wrestled Holiday. I think I was going to be in some like 6-man gauntlet match. Is actually the night that Bloodsaw won the U.S. title. And I walk in and the card gets put up and it says Flash and Holiday. And I just like, oh God. And I walk away. And I'm just like, okay. So that it was a big smack in the face for me, because they knew, the people, the Roma, they knew that I liked, just keeping my mindset on one thing. And they're like, nope, you and Holiday go, first match of the night. Boom. And I just had to go out there and just do whatever, just do stuff on your own. And that definitely left a mark in the back of my head. Like, you know what? You never, like, when they say cards subject to change, that's just not for the fans. That's for the wrestlers as well. Because, like, you really never know. Like, you really have no clue. So if I walk in and it's like, oh, who am I wrestling? I'm like, I have no clue. It doesn't matter. I'll just sit down, wait till, like, I used to be so nervous before every match, and especially with XWA, it's really helped me because I'm wrestling every single week. And I'm literally just sitting on the couch and hearing my theme play, and I'm like, boom, okay, now I can go. Like, I'm just chill. It's so, like, this is fun now. Like, I always used to say I used to look forward to the 3 count, because then the match is finally over and I can finally relax. I'm like, now I'm relaxed just walking out there. Like, I'm just having fun. Like, that's all you're supposed to do. I'm going out there and having fun.
Well, you're a young person, so you're evolving as a young man and you're evolving as a wrestler at the same time. So that's got to be a little hard to juggle in the industry. Well,
Especially starting wrestling when I was in like my senior year of high school. It was definitely because like when you first start, it's just this big cluster of just, oh my God, I'm living the dream, or wait, no, like I'm wrestling. Wait, what am I really doing? Like, you're kind of confused. So like my teachers were so like no school like is supportive of professional wrestling. They're like, that's not a career. You need to find a career. I'm like, I'm doing it. Like every Friday that I had an alley fights, I'd be like, I have an alley fights tonight. They're like, that's cool. I'm like, no, I'm not doing any work. I'm sitting here. I'm just focused, and I would just sit there and just stare into the blank. And it was just it's surreal. It still is surreal to me now. Like, but wrestling has just had so much fun for me. Like, it's helped me through losing family members, just all this crazy stuff. Wrestling is just awesome. It's an amazing experience. It really is. It's like even as a fan, like I'm still gonna be a fan, until the day I die. Like that's because you have to be.
well, as a musician, I would go to shows and I, would support my brothers out there and stuff like that. But I find myself critiquing bands when I go see them at a bar or whatever. Do you find yourself do you find yourself like picking stuff apart and being like, why? Oh wait, hey, you should have done that. Do you find yourself kind of in those moments?
More if it's I do that more with my own matches. Actually, I try not to watch my own matches, but like because I'm just like, oh, that match was so cool, and then I watch it back and I'm like, oh my God, it was awful. That was the worst match I've ever seen in my life. Like I'm a very negative person, especially towards myself. I'm very negative towards myself. I'm just like, I'm like, everyone's like, oh my God, that was an awesome match. I was like, okay, cool, and I just completely forget about it. I'm like, it wasn't. I know it wasn't because deep down I'm like, that was awful. But especially like some of the brothers from like PBW, like Haven, like Kylon King, we all do it to each other. We all watch each other's matches. I'm like, I go up to Haven before my match. I'm like, hey, can you watch my match? Let me know if there's anything, and just they watch it, and same thing for alley fights, just ask them to watch, even if you like because sometimes you see Roma at the big shows, like he's in the crowd, he's watching us too. He's not just there doing his own thing, he's watching us, so then he can come back and tell us, hey, this is what you did right, this is what you did wrong. Which is what I think is the best thing, is that he takes time to, watch his students, which is awesome to me.
Yeah, it's absolutely true because when I see Mr. Roma and I mean, it's not even just the bigger shows at the alley fights. When he comes walking in, it's like,
yeah,
he sees the people, he goes into the back, he's shaking all the hands, he's making his way back out, he's shaking the fans' hands and whatnot. But he's also, when he's doing his watching, he makes eye contact with the right people and there's communication over there. And it's just like, I'm watching and I'm like, oh, okay, wow. Mr. Roma, he gives you a look and, there's a nod or whatever and things happen. You know what I'm saying? Like he does this thing and he's making sure that his product is done well.
Him and Mancini, they're sitting there at alley fights and they're watching everyone do their thing. They come back and they tell us,
And that laugh of Mr. Mancini gets me every time. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's definitely like, I feel like you hear that the most whenever Maxim comes out, because Mancini, he loves Morozov. Everyone loves to hate him. I'll just say that. Everyone loves to hate Morozov.
Yeah, I absolutely love to hate that Morozov guy. I mean, he's I'm not saying nothing because I interviewed him and I got to upload his stuff, so I don't want to say nothing bad. Well, I want to say, man, we've been kind of hanging out. You have been very informative with the fans, and the fans love them some Flash Waller, as I've stated before. Could you give us where can we find Flash Waller on the medias that's out there right now? What do you've got going on for platforms?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Real Dustin Waller. That's where I'm out on. I post most of my stuff out on Instagram, Facebook, Dustin Waller, and YouTube at Dustin Waller. I put some of my matches up there. But yeah, I'm just going with it now. But like I said, with all this stuff going on, God knows when another show is ever going to be. But all I know is whenever that first show comes back, all those wrestlers are going to be putting on these 5-star matches because they haven't wrestled for months, and they're going to be putting on these insane matches, I bet.
Or the and I'm not, and hey, and I'm just poking fun, but when you're an athlete and you kind of have to be quarantined, and you end up a little bit bigger than you were. So we might have a few chunkier wrestlers than there were when the King COVID came in, man. So
Yeah.
we have to wait and see what happens when this is all blown over, man.
Yeah, no, we're just going with whatever happens now. Who the heck knows, really?
Yeah, man. I can't thank you enough for spending the time with me tonight. We are all in a weird position right now in the world. It's flipped literally upside down, and you're actually taking the time to talk to Kincaid. I mean, holy crap. I can't thank you enough, my man.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, this was Stirring the Pot with that. Oh, hail Brody, baby. This was Stirring the Pot with Don Kincaid and my very special guest, my man, one Dustin Flash Waller. Thank you so much for your time, man. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having me, Don.